Okay, sorry about that, guys. There was one last thing that I remembered that I wanted to show you. I felt like I was forgetting something, and I finally remembered it. First of all, I just want to show you where exactly the site plan and the Revit template / site file is going to be. So in the ARC 306 folder, the general folder that you guys have access to, if you click on course material, you will see the template file for Revit, and then I've also uploaded the site plan DWG that's inserted into Revit, but it's there just in case if you guys ever want it. You can see it's actually uploading right now, but it's there for you guys. So the last thing that I wanted to show you that pertains to site, but it's actually also going to pertain to your buildings, is I want to show you how to link Revit files to another one, to like different projects. And the reason for that is because the files can be pretty large, and if you notice, this file itself with the site is already around like I believe like 50 megabytes. So they get pretty big pretty fast. So a lot of times it's always good to kind of have the Revit file for your building and the Revit file for your site in two separate files. And I'm gonna show you how to do that now, and it's actually easiest to do after you create your site, because there's not really much to do because everything comes in where it's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to save. If I show you my folder, I have it as a template file, as a template file. But obviously you guys should probably save it to like a project name or something like that, or maybe your name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it as. I'm going to just throw them on the desktop. But I'm going to save mine as like Josh. And then I'm going to say site for the site. And then I'm also going to save another one that's Josh. And then, I'm just going to say building or, whatever it is now, for the building. So now this file, I'm in the building. So you can see here I have, Josh building. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to delete everything but my building. So for you guys, you're probably going to want to delete it. You're probably going to want to keep this in there as well because this may be part of it. So I'm going to, for purposes of showing you this example, I'm going to say this is my building, but you guys will have something here as well. So I would do it for both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these. I'm going to hide them so I don't delete them by accident. So let me hide these. So those are all hidden, and I'm going to leave the building pad in. Oh, I'm going to delete the building pad because the building pad is actually going to be part of the site. Because you can only you can only place a building pad on a topo surface. So a building pad needs to be in a topo surface. So if you were ever going to once you do your buildings, if you do a building that's adjacent, you'd have to do a building pad in your site plan and then build your building on top of the building pad. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select everything, and I'm going to unpin because I had some stuff pinned, and I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to bring back in my building, and I'm going to save my building. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the site, and I'm going to do the opposite for the site. I'm going to delete everything but the building. I'm going to delete the building and leave the site where it is. So now if I select the buildings, everything that is the building, so the walls, and in this case, the floor plan, that was the roof. So now I have just my site. And since we've gone through the process of kind of creating the building on the site, and setting up the levels and everything. So they're going to be the same between the two projects now because I set them up for the site plan. When I go to insert and link a Revit file, it's going to come in the exact same place. So now I'm in the site plan, and I'm going to link the building file to the site plan. And now it brings this file in, exactly where it's supposed to be. And that's why I like doing this after I've set everything up, because it brings in exactly where it's supposed to be. And, you don't have to make any effort to move it into anywhere. So now this kind of is an entity. The building file will be an entity of itself, and it just shows there, so it doesn't take up a lot of room. And it kind of works like an imported category. As I showed you when I imported the CAD file. So if I go to edit and go to Revit links, I can turn off. In this view alone, I can turn that off. And then again, I can go back and I can turn it back on. And then I can get into that a little bit more, but I can specifically turn off. Like if I go to this, I can turn off specific walls and stuff. So like if I turn a wall category off here, it would just turn the wall off for that linked file. Actually, I want to turn it on. So let me turn this on. If you also go to manage links, you will see the building file. So like right now it's loaded, but I can unload it. And that linked file will be unloaded for the whole, through this whole file. So if I go into another floor, the buildings, it's not going to show up. So that's basically through the whole the whole site file itself. It's unloaded, and then I can just go back and hit reload, and it'll reload it. So that's ways to have the building file in there, and it's it's not taking up room, and you can always unload it so it's not big. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and you're going to do the same thing for the site file now. So you open, the building file, and I just clicked on the wrong one. But you're going to open the building file, and you're going to link the site into it. So you do the same thing. You go to Insert, Link Revit, Site. And this will link the site file into the place. So you can see now, this is really helpful when you're working on your building, because the site file can be pretty big, and you can just unload it or hide it in a view, so you can work on your building, and then you can turn it on whenever you want to get a quick reference. And then it's the same for the site plan. If you ever need to edit the site, you can reload your building linked file, so you can see the building, and then turn it off whenever you don't need it. So that's a way to help it there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to quickly I'm just going to draw a quick wall here for a second, because I want to show you. So this is so I drew this wall in my building file, and the reason I did that is because I want to show you Revit links. They work like XRefs in AutoCAD, if any of you ever use those. So I drew that wall in there, and when I go to open the site, and that was in the building file. So when I go to open the site plan, the site file that I had, that update that I did automatically comes in with the link. So any changes that you make to your building file, it'll load into the site file that it's linked into. So I made that change in the building file, and when I open the site file, that's linked. So that's a way to kind of work with links, linked files in Revit to help you kind of minimize your file size, so you can separate the site and the building into two separate files. Again, if there's ever questions with that, I can help out in studios with that to actually get you guys to link it. But hopefully this video was helpful with that, where you guys can be able to do that on your own.